Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to be going through Hebrews chapter 7, which is the next chapter. We went over chapter 6 last week. We'll be reading the chapter and then we'll have a little discussion on it, and we'll have some questions and with answers on the chapter, and then maybe a slight quick review after we finish. So, beginning chapter 7. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave tenth part of all, first being translated King of Righteousness, and then also King of Salem, meaning King of Peace, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, remains a priest continually. Now consider how great this man was, to whom even the patriarch Abraham gave a tenth of the spoils. And indeed, those who are the sons of Levi, who receive the priesthood, have a commandment to receive tithes from the people according to the law, that is, from their brethren, though they have come from the loins of Abraham. But he whose genealogy is not derived from them received tithes from Abraham, and blessed him who had the promises. Now beyond all contradiction, the lesser is blessed by the better. Here mortal men receive tithes, but there he receives them of whom it is witnessed that he lives. Even Levi, who received tithes, paid tithes through Abraham, so to speak, for he is still in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. Therefore, if perfection were through the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should rise according to the order of Melchizedek, and not being called according to the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, of necessity there is also a change of the law. For he of whom these things are spoken belonged to another tribe, from which no man has officiated at the altar. For it is evident that our Lord arose from Judea, of which tribe Moses spoke nothing concerning priesthood. And yet it is far more evident if, in the likeness of Melchizedek, there rises another priest, who has come not according to the law of a fleshly commandment, but according to the power of an endless life. For he testifies, "You are priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek." For on the one hand, there is an annulling of the former commandment because of its weakness and unprofitableness. For the law made nothing perfect. On the other hand, there is the beginning of a better hope, through which we draw near to God. Inasmuch as he is not made priest without an oath, for they became priests without an oath, but he with an oath by him who said to him, "The Lord has sworn and will not relent. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek." By so much more, Jesus has become a surety of a better covenant. And there were many priests, because they were prevented by death from continuing. But he, because he continues forever, has an unchangeable priesthood. Therefore he is also able to save to the uttermost those who come to God through him, since he always lives to make intercession for them. For such a high priest was fitting for us, who is holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners, and has become higher than the heavens, who does not need daily, as those high priests, to offer up sacrifices for his own sins and then for the people's. For this he did once for all when he offered up himself. For the law appoints as high priests men who have weakness, but the word of the oath, which came after the law, appoints the Son who has been perfected forever. That is the 7th chapter, the reading of it. We see at this point, chapter 7 resumes the discussion of Jesus as the high priest and the superiority of Melchizedek to Abraham and Levi is first demonstrated, and that's the first 10 verses. Reasons are then given why a new priest after the order of Melchizedek was necessary, which also required a change in the law. That's verses 11 through 19. Finally, in the last 9 verses, the greatness of Jesus as our new high priest is explained. So, here's some points to think about. The superiority of Melchizedek to Abraham and Levi. The change in the priesthood and the annulment of the law. The superiority of Jesus' priesthood to the Levitical priesthood. Okay, now we'll go ahead and start with the questions on the chapter and discuss the answers. First, question 1, what are the main points of the chapter? Which we just talked about, the greatness of Melchizedek, the need for a new priesthood, and the greatness of Jesus' priesthood. So, where in the Old Testament can we read about Melchizedek? And you'll find the readings for him, Melchizedek, in Genesis 14, 18 through 20. Also, he's referred to in Psalms 110, verse 4. What do Melchizedek and the Son of God appear to have in common? And we see this in verse 3. Both appear to be without father and mother, without genealogy, having neither the beginning of days nor the end of life, remaining as priests continually. Why is Melchizedek greater than both Abraham and Levi? And this is verses 4 through 10. Abraham was blessed by Melchizedek, and the lesser is blessed by the greater, making Melchizedek greater than Abraham. Melchizedek received tithes from Abraham and from his descendant Levi. So in other words, greater than Levi because he received tithes from Levi. Why was there a need to change, for a change in the priesthood? And that's in verse 11, which talks about the law which has established the Levitical priesthood never made anything perfect. Remember, sins were just rolled over. They were never truly forgiven, just kind of rolled over. Okay, what was required for there to be a change in the priesthood? And this is in 2 verses, verse 12 and then again in verse 18. The law had to be changed, indeed annulled, because the forgiveness was not perfect. The priest was not perfect. Okay, what evidence is there that the law had been changed? And this is verses 13 through 17. Talks about the priest Jesus came from the tribe of Judea, not Levi, as required from the law. That is a definite change. The other, the priest Jesus, has the power of endless life, as foretold in Psalms 110:4. This is a big change because prior to that, only Melchizedek lived eternally. All other priests lived and then died. Last question, question number 8. List some of the qualities of Jesus' priesthood. And this is in verses 20 through 28. And I want you to listen to these carefully. The qualities of priesthood. First one, by the oath of the Lord. This priesthood came directly from God. Surety of a better covenant. It talks about how this is a better covenant. An unchangeable priesthood. Prior to this, priesthood changed with the death of one and then the next high priest that was in line. Able to save to the uttermost. Nothing beyond their power. Always lives to make intercession. So this priest never dies, will always be there to make intercession for us. Another quality of Jesus' priesthood, holy, harmless, undefiled, separate from sinners. All other priests were really men and had the same failings and had the same faults as men had. Another big change and another quality, Jesus offered up himself once for all. This is the first time the offering was actually a human being, the blood of a human being, which Jesus offered up. And the last quality is that he had been perfected forever. In other words, with this priesthood, there will be no more priests, there will be no more changes to the priesthood. This is written in stone, and this is how it will be forever. Well, that's chapter 7. I appreciate your listening and studying with me. This really shows us how the magnitude of the change from the Levitic priesthood to the priesthood of Jesus. It definitely was a big change. It changed the world forever. It changed how we look at things forever. So I want to thank you for listening to me. I hope this study has been interesting and has been elevating to you. And I thank you for your attention. And we will see you next week with Chapter 8. Have a great night.